It is Tuesday, the 5th of July, a day that Peter Hitchener chose to join us here in the studio. Hello, Mr. Hitchener.
Hello there. I wouldn't miss this day for anything in the world because, of course, we are soon welcoming such a special guest into the studio. And I wouldn't care if there was a news break in the middle of it. I'd have to be here.
I alerted you that this lady would be here tonight.
Tell Hugh that you're not on call for the next.
I could go and fill in for you. You stay here, and I'll go do the news breaks.
That would be so good for us.
Oh, wouldn't it be just lovely? But no, because I think everybody in Melbourne knows. I just had somebody on Facebook saying, "Now I hope you're going to be on with the boys tonight because Jill's going to be there."
So that's why she's in, because of you.
Jill Mansfield. Oh, isn't that wonderful?
But the real Jill Mansfield.
Yes.
Not the pretend Jill.
Oh. And I'll never forget the first day I met the real Jill Mansfield. Yeah. And I'd for years heard this mythical character, actually played by husband Tues on the radio. And then I met the real Jill Mansfield, and she wasn't at all the way he portrayed you on air.
And of course, being the second Mrs. Bruce Mansfield, because of Yvonne.
Leave Yvonne out of this.
No, but I mean, you can't ignore her. You can't. But Jill, it's such an honour to have you in with us tonight, live on the show. And thank you very much for being a part of the show and for having the courage to come in and spend some time with us. You are among friends.
I hope you're very kind to me.
You are always. Well, I drove very cautiously and I didn't smoke in the car. That's the first sign.
Jill, you got him to stop smoking in the car.
That's a feat never before achieved.
And in so early.
And then 3 cigarettes I'll never smoke.
And we've brought Peter Hitchener in as muscle to ensure that Phil is nice to you, otherwise he'll cop a blow on the nose, won't he, Peter?
What I loved about the start of the show tonight, Jill, Philip came on and said, well, tonight I've done something I've never done before, and I thought, he must have prepared the show for a change.
I was here by 9 o'clock, that doesn't matter.
My goodness me.
I was here before John Deeks, which is very rare. But Jill, Bruce is so much a part of our lives. Every night, people talk and have fond memories of him, and I can assure you he'll never be forgotten, that he's close to our minds, but always in our hearts.
Thank you. And I just wanted to thank all the wonderful people who sent so many beautiful cards for his birthday and get well cards and sympathy cards. Unfortunately, not all of them put the return address. I have replied to as many as I had addresses for, but I just want to thank everybody for their lovely thoughtfulness.
We had a lot of callers ring through expressing their surprise. They didn't expect to hear back from you, so they were really quite touched that you took that effort.
Oh, Bruce would have insisted things were done properly.
He would have, wouldn't he?
It was a lovely card you prepared, and the picture of Bruce, he looked so fit and suntanned. Did he choose that photo himself?
No, but towards the end he said to Louise, "Do you know something that I would really love?" And she said, "What's that, Dad?" He said, "I'd like to be suntanned and have hair." and he was certainly suntanned because he was burnt. And it was when we were at Turtle Beach 2 years ago.
And the blessing is that, as we discussed coming in the car, Bruce really didn't ever know he was so ill, did he? Thanks to you protecting him.
No, he didn't realise. And they told me in Stockholm that he would be lucky to have 8 months, which they told me not to tell him. And so I chose not to. He never asked. And I don't think really until the day before he died that he realised that that was the end.
Was it hard for you keeping that secret from him?
It was terrible.
Mm. And from the family too.
Yeah, I didn't tell them till the last week or so.
Mm.
How are you doing now?
Well, you have to keep going, apart from which Bruce would have expected me to. But, laugh, and you laugh, the world laughs with you. Cry, and you cry alone. So I just have to get on and do things.
And you've got the kids and the grandkids, of course, too.
Yes.
The life doesn't stop for them. Things must keep moving, don't they?
I'm on the school pickup list.
Oh, yes, of course.
Of course, Bruce adored the family and adored the grandchildren, and I loved the way he would say goodnight to them every night.
Yes.
Whether or not they were up at that point of time, I'm not quite sure, but it was beautiful.
Some of them were. They used to listen, and sometimes they'd have to have it taped, just to make sure he didn't miss one.
Including sweet little Ella Grace. I love that name. It's so beautiful. beautiful.
You would know yourself, Jill, as a parent. There would be times where you would go to tell John off for something and you would call him David. I do it all the time, having 4 kids myself. You always call one by, you call the wrong child the wrong name.
Oh.
It's a parent thing. Every parent in the world knows that.
My
happens.
parents did exactly the same thing.
One of my little nasty joys, as it were, would be to see Bruce occasionally saying goodnight to the grandkids and this look of terror on his face as, I might have forgotten one. But I don't think he ever did. I think he always got it right. But there was that occasional pang of terror.
It might have been the occasional time when I whispered a name in his ear.
Well, he did miss one once.
Oh.
And a lot of listeners rang in to remind him.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it?
He was such a kind of larger-than-life personality. He was a genius, for starters, as a broadcaster. There's never been anyone like Bruce, and there never will again. But I gather that he was sort of larger than life at home as well, in that he was almost eccentric, would we say?
I think you could say he was very eccentric.
I was being kind.
I think particularly the time he did burn half the back fence.
Oh, yes.
And
I love this story.
He ran out in his underpants, didn't he, to put the fire out?
Yeah, red underpants with a blue dressing gown. I think he thought he was Superman.
Oh.
And put his finger on the hose, which just gave a little squirt. So anyhow, fire brigade turned up. But he insisted Louise kept locking that back gate. There was no fence, but the gate had to be locked.
Very much a creature of habit, and qualities, virtues, which I've always talked about, and at the memoriam too. His morality and his loyalty could never be questioned.
No. If you were a friend, you stayed a friend.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I loved the way during the news at night time, Bruce would sit in the chair that Philip's in right at this moment and would, in almost with surgical precision, he would peel an orange and he would dissect it, and some of it would go to Simon to be enjoyed, and Bruce would methodically and very, very sort of elegantly consume his half of the orange. And I thought, gosh, he's marvellous. He's a person of sort of habit.
Oh, absolutely.
But how often, he'd pass you a banana which was slightly bruised, and I'm wondering if it had come from the Preston Market, sort of, not quite right.
No, everything came from Preston Market, but see, I'm obsessive compulsive, and I have to have everything served to me from the cool room, so no one else has touched it. And I have a wonderful greengrocer there called Sam, and he looks after me beautifully.
Oh, okay.
Now, I wonder whether Bruce caught some of this, because that is just as wonderful as Bruce's habits, I think, by the sound of it.
Oh, yes.
Was he hilarious day to day? Was he funny? You know that here he would just come, an idea would come to him, a joke would come to him, some sort of funny impression, and it would come out of nowhere. Was that the same at home, or was he not on at home so much?
It was very interesting. Some days you'd never quite know who you were living with. He'd drop into different characters. But at family functions, he was always the quietest.
Is that so?
Because he said he was there to be entertained.
Oh, isn't that funny?
And when we were going in the car, there'd be just dead silence. And I'd say, did you want to say something? He said, no, entertain me.
Is that right?
So I wasn't paying for him, so I had to entertain him.
Yes, but there was a touch of genius there.
Oh, absolutely.
A touch of Barry Humphries, and because of that, you make allowances for eccentricities.
Yes,
and
because it's a talent that's
yes,
just like no other. There'll never be another Bruce Mansfield. He was just
But he was so
wonderful.
quick-witted.
Yes,
Yes.
wasn't
So
it? And it
quick-witted.
was all off the cuff, you know.
Yes.
and he'd sort of pluck a joke or a tagline laterally out of thin air, and you think, how did he think of that? It's just clever.
And what about the impersonations?
Oh, I love them. In fact, the one of Jill was one of my favourites. Sister Narelle was hard to beat as well.
Imelda Marcos, Elizabeth
Yes,
Taylor.
and Willard Scott.
Oh, yes, so weatherman.
I got a very big laugh out of Bruce when I told him a story of my wife and daughter who don't listen to the show. They've never listened to 3AW and probably never will.
Oh.
But they happened to be in the car one night driving home whilst we were on air. And Bruce was in his seat, Phil was here, and I was out there panelling. And Phil, as he often did, said, "Oh, we should ask Jill about that." And so we rang Jill, which of course was Bruce. And so my wife the next morning came up to me and said, "Oh, we were in the car listening last night." And I said, "Yes." And she said, Jill was on the show. And I thought, oh, she heard the impersonation of Bruce. And I thought the next thing she was going to say was, "Oh, isn't Bruce clever?"
Isn't he hilarious?
No, what my wife actually said was, Jill's a bit butch, isn't she?" And to which I said, That wasn't Jill.
That wasn't Jill.
It was Bruce doing an impersonation, and my wife didn't believe it, neither did my daughter. So I came in that night and told Bruce, and he thought it was the funniest thing ever. So it's great to hear Jill live on air, not
real
being
Jill.
bullshit.
This is the real me.
Yeah, but there's a parallel story, share it with Jill, about Mervyn Purvis.
Oh, yes. Now, every Sunday night, for those who don't know, on Sunday nights, just before the 9 o'clock news, there was Mervyn Purvis's quick quiz, and I've archived them, so I've got hundreds, so we're still playing them now on a Sunday. Yeah. And it was Bruce, of course, putting on a character voice in this quiz. We have a young fan many years ago, a young kid named Farouk. He won't mind me mentioning it. Farouk still calls us today.
He does.
Farouk had a chat to us and wanted to come into the studio, which we could do back in the Bank Street days. And so we said, "Yes, Farouk, come in. Pick a night. What night would you like to come in?" And he said, "Oh, Sunday, if that's okay." So Farouk came in on Sunday. He's met Bruce and Phil and myself. He's sitting in the control room behind me. It's about 8:45, and Farouk's looking around all excitedly, and he said, "Oh, I'm really looking forward to this." And I said, "What?" And he said, "Well, I expect Mervyn will arrive very shortly." And I had to break his heart by saying, "It's not actually a real person, it's Bruce."
It was such a wonderful character, and I love hearing on Sunday nights. I've often thought, I wonder if Jill actually, I wonder if you ever sort of tune in on a Sunday night and hear that. It's nostalgia, but it's lovely hearing Bruce on air again, much as we did all those years ago, for so many years.
And I love to hear the poems
Yes.
each night. I think they're lovely.
Yeah, they are. It's wonderful we've still got them.
Only one night we ran out of time, as you know, and didn't play the poem. And we had so much reaction. Where's Bruce's poem? Yeah. This is since he's passed on.
It was only about 3 or so weeks after Bruce had passed, and we had said we're going to continue playing those pieces. They have forever been a part of the show, and as long as we are here, forever will be. And as Phil says, we were just running really out of time one night. We'd missed time to the news, so we won't have time for the piece, so we didn't do it. And the Facebook page went off, and the Twitter feed went off, and the board full of calls.
But luckily out there
and some rather vitriolic emails, I must say.
But are there around 300 pieces we can replay?
There's 400 of those pieces by Bruce, and I've given Jill tonight a little USB drive which has got all of those and some other bits and pieces, so the grandkids can have them.
Well, he played one to Louise the night before she got married. The Sleeping Beauty.
I know.
Well, we were a mess by the time we got home. The three of us were all howling.
That's
lovely.
What I love about that particular piece and Bruce's, the particular, Bruce has done it a dozen times, but the one that I kept that we have replayed, Bruce actually breaks in the middle of it. You can hear the crack in his voice.
Yes,
it's beautiful.
Simon, your moments of emotion right now reminds me of that terrible morning when you rang me to tell me that what had happened, and I think it's one of those things that comes back to all of us at times. Especially, I find when I'm listening to the nostalgia, the Mervyn Purvis segment, I think, oh gosh, it's sort of, you find yourself with a lump in the throat sometimes.
Yeah, Mervyn doesn't bring that out in me. What that brings out is a sense of intense jealousy because I could never hope to be as funny as Bruce.
Well, but there's a humorous side to it. Bruce does a piece, and he didn't write any of them. Is it called Heartbeats? What's the one?
Heart Prince is the one that you
Well, now, Bruce wasn't the sort of guy who wore his heart on his sleeve, he kept his emotions very much to himself. But I fall about when I hear him do this piece you just talked about.
Yes.
Because even though he does it very sincerely, it's not the Bruce we know. Because he didn't really express emotion outwardly very much, except probably to his family. He was rather introverted, wasn't he, with his emotions?
He was very shy.
Yeah, I believe he
And
was.
a lot of people didn't realise that. He was extremely shy.
I know.
And he loved to hide behind the characters.
Yes.
And that's why you can imagine my excitement when I saw the little red heart on the 1st of November.
Oh, I love
so
this.
I put little arrows through it and initials on it, and I said, "Oh, love, that's really lovely that you've remembered that." He said, "What are you talking about? It's a dog's heartworm tablet day."
Oh, that's
That
wonderful.
is so delightful.
Now,
so typical.
We must take a break. You're happy to stick around for a little
Yes,
while
it'd be
longer?
lovely.
Oh, thanks,
I don't want to. I don't want to crash the party though, because we've got Jill here, and
Julie,
she's the one.
you have to stay because I'm driving you home.
Oh, good. he did suggest I catch the tram, but I'm not into public transport.
Oh, you swine.
Well, I can't have a
Oh,
cigarette
there's a
for
word Bruce would
hours.
have said. That's exactly what Bruce would have said. You swine.
That's why, isn't it a wonderful word?
At 24 to 11.
I'm Peter the Pop.
Peter, I must share something with you which will be close to your heart. Unfortunately, there was a body discovered in Kew today.
Yes, I know. We reported that.
As a result, the Channel 9 chopper was flying around and doing circuits over my home for about half an hour.
Oh, hope it didn't disturb the dog.
Well, Oro, my golden retriever, who's a year old, has never seen a helicopter before, and he was hypnotised by it, by the sound and by the sight of it. He must have thought, what an unusual-looking bird this is. And it kept circling around my house. He couldn't take his eyes off it.
Isn't that amazing?
He's fallen in love with the Channel 9 chopper.
I'll tell Ross,
Yeah,
Ross
please
Parker,
do.
the chopper
Yes.
pilot.
Yeah.
Ross, you have another fan. That's wonderful.
Now we have some calls. We have in the studio with us Jill Mansfield, Peter Hitchener, Philip and myself, of course, and calls Queenie. Hello, Queenie.
Hello, there's Simon, Phil, and Peter, and mostly Jill. I've been dying for this night to come. And how courageous and brave you are, Jill. You are absolutely wonderful. And you've got to think of your grandchildren, the legacy that Bruce has left behind him, as all those children. I had somebody I lost recently, and he was crying, his son it was, and I said, just go and have a look in that pew inside. There's 8 kids in there, and the legacy he's left behind for you to look after. And I think you're marvellous, as Bruce used to say. And a lot of people didn't get Bruce, but any time that I got on with him, he said something funny and it rolled along, we made a story out of it. Simon, you should give that beautiful serial to Jill to listen to those 4 episodes.
Oh, the radio serial we did all those years ago. Yes, I've got that. I've got that somewhere. I'll dig that out.
Yeah, give it to Jill to try. I think it's so rotten. It's so funny, Jill. You would love it.
Well, thank you,
Queenie
Queenie.
is actually in the serial, is he?
Yes, I'm in the serial. They used to ring me and Lindsay, and Bruce had about 3 parts in it, and you did, Phil. You were trying to take up a girl too.
I think I was a murderer, wasn't I, Queenie?
I think you were the murderer.
Typecast.
And you know what Bruce said to me? I think you wanted me dead. Or the fellow that he was.
Well, thank you, Queenie, for all your lovely accolades that you've given Bruce off the air and also in the interviews. He would have really appreciated your thoughts and the lovely cards and things that you used to send to him.
Good on you, Queenie. Thanks, Queenie. Colin's in Brunswick. Hello, Colin.
Oh, hello. Hi, Jill. What an honour to speak to you. I happen to be the last caller just before midnight when Bruce was pretending to talk to Kamal, and he didn't reveal it, and I just thought, I didn't know Kamal was even alive, so I rang up and said, Bruce, Phil, that's not Kamal because he's not alive. And they said, why do you say that? Anyway, after me, I think Darren James came on just before midnight. I can't remember exactly. But I love Bruce. I've been listening to him for over 10 years, off and on. I do the washing late at night and just have him on right up to midnight. And I love all those poems he has. Especially after 9 o'clock, he used to have those other ones.
Yes.
I even got to see Bruce and Phil when they used to do the 24-hour Christmas shopping centre show there.
Well, Bruce would have been very impressed that you did the washing late at night, because that's the cheaper rate, so he would have been most impressed.
And I remember also seeing him at Melbourne Central signing the book. He had a book of poems with Phil. I think that was in 1992.
That would have been, yes, Tales from the Scrapbook, that would have been in 92, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm really sorry, because I miss him a lot.
I think we all do,
We do.
He was terrific.
Yeah, nicely put, Colin, right from the heart.
Jill, you mentioned there about the cheaper rates. Now, Bruce had a reputation for being thrifty, I suppose we could say. Was it an act, or was he like that?
No, he was very thrifty, and my washing was always done at the weekends on the cheaper rate. And he had a thing about lights.
Yes.
And we had to always turn the light off. And even the night before he passed away, his two nieces were in with him, just chatting to him, and he called them over closer. He said, "Turn that light off in the hall." Ever saving that little bit of money.
Okay, well, now this is
Electricity.
legendary. Tell us if it's true or not, that you weren't encouraged to have the heat on. He would rather you put a rug around your knees, and that in the winter months the fridge was turned off.
No. The problem is I'm the one that doesn't feel the cold. So I'd sooner put on a dressing gown than put on a heater, and I could never see the point of putting on central heating to heat the whole house, where the one room I was in didn't have a point.
And of course, Jill is talking about the caravan here in Nunawading.
That's exactly right.
I was calling it a house, but it
with the
was
annex.
a caravan.
Did Bruce ever have a caravan? Because I've heard him speak about the prefect that Uncle Roy, of course, used to drive, and the caravan. Did he ever have one, or had he ever holidayed in one?
No, he never did. I used to take the children away with my uncle and aunt in a caravan, but Bruce couldn't even back a trailer.
No.
So the boys used to have to run it down and put it in the water and then run the trailer back up. He couldn't launch a boat and he couldn't back a trailer.
No, actually, it's funny. I actually don't see Bruce being able to do either of those things.
No, but so many people believe about the caravan and the annex on top and the chimney
yes.
and the flaps and everything else.
We have had many calls over the years asking, whereabouts in Nunawading is that caravan park? We said, just near Wobby's
right.
World, down near Channel O.
Folks, we'll take a break and be back with the Herald Sun. And you've got the TV lift out tomorrow, haven't you, the program guide?
Oh, yeah, and we've got Kate Ritchie as well, talking about how she wants to come back to TV.
Excellent.
Oh, and don't we all?
Oh, I love Kate Ritchie. Apparently she's going to be on the Play School celebrity covers. Why weren't you involved, Peter?
I'm not sure about that. I think Philip's the one who wants a call up at the moment.
I'm the one who put my hand up.
Good on you, Kate.
I'm just waiting for the phone to ring. Thanks, Kate.
That's Kate McMahon from the Herald Sun News Desk. Bronnie's in South Yarra. Hello, Bronnie.
Oh, hello, boys, and particularly hello to Jill. Jill, I really enjoyed meeting you at Creswick, and I haven't forgotten about you, and I thought no one's mentioned the woman behind the man. I mean, you were so much a part of his life that it made his life so much easier. So I just want to state that because I think that there is a pair of people involved, and you were instrumental in Bruce's success as well. So, that's all I wanted to say to you, Jill. I think that we will never forget Bruce. We'll always have him in our hearts and souls. We'll be talking about him forever. But it does take a very wonderful lady to help a person get to his success level. So that's what I wanted to tell you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that, but he didn't make it hard to be behind him or be with him or beside him. He was just wonderful to be with.
That's right, Jill. And you kept the home fires burning, which allowed him to get on with what he did best. So anyway, it's so lovely to speak to you, and I hope that things continue to be great for you and the grandchildren. I've got you in my heart and soul.
Thank you.
How beautifully said.
Good
Thank
on you, Bronnie.
Bronnie.
It's 6 to 11.
And Simon Phil with Jill Mansfield and Peter Hitchener.
Now, Jill, you and Bruce went on many a cruise and many a holiday overseas, escorted holidays, all sorts of things. But I believe you're about to go on a voyage of your own with a friend or with a family member, another family member.
Yes, I'm going with my cousin, and it is the trip that Bruce was going to host in August. starting from Southampton with travel right and coming back to Southampton, going circumnavigating the British Isles.
And before this takes place, of course, you're back to playing tennis, I believe, as well.
Yes, back at tennis.
Oh, isn't it a wonderful game? I think we used to tease
I get rid of all my
about
frustrations.
Isn't it a wonderful game for that? I love it.
You could do a doubles match with Lorraine Bailey. She's a big tennis player as well.
Is she?
Yeah, she loves her tennis.
Are you going to take all the nightliners with you on the cruise? Are they all?
If they'd like to come.
Don's in Camberwell. Hello, Don.
G'day, Simon. Jill and Phil. You know, Jill, truly, you know, your husband, he introduced me to Mervyn Purvis, and he promised Jill to introduce me to Sister Narelle, and he never did. And I was very, very upset about that, Jill, because I had a fancy for Sister Narelle.
He probably had a very bad habit that day.
Jill's been here 1 hour and she's already done a pun that's better than any that Phil's done in 25 years.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking when Simon's away, will you work with me, Jill?
As long as I get top billing.
Then it'll be
Jill, you should.
It'll be Mansfield and Brady all over again.
Jill and Phil.
Yes.
I think I'm doing myself out of a job.
Now, Peter, thank you. It's so gracious of you to stay the whole
Not
hour
at all.
with
I'm
us.
thrilled, and it's lovely seeing Jill again. Take care, Jill. Enjoy that cruise when it comes along, and play well on the tennis court in the meantime.
I hope so.
Peter Hitchener, National.
Simon and Phil, see you soon.
My buddy Peter Hitchener, National 9 News. Back with Jill and Simon after the news.
11 on 3AW. We cross to the Bureau of Meteorology where we find Michael Efron. G'day, Michael.
Good evening, Simon and Phil.
Now, today was an absolute shocker of a day. For family reasons, I had to go to Balnarring Beach today, and it wasn't the best day to go to the beach.
Not a great day for the beach, up to only 12.4 degrees today. We have had almost an inch of rain in the city since 9 a.m, so around 23 millimetres of rain, and that rain will continue into tomorrow. We're looking at a low of 10 degrees, almost there now, and the rain continuing, a top of only 12 again for Wednesday, so quite a wintry day ahead.
It's rather nasty again. Thursday looking any better for us?
We'll see the showers easing a little bit on Thursday, but still quite a cool day with southerly winds at top of 13 after a low of 7. And then it starts to clear up a bit more towards the weekend on Friday, up to 14 after a low of 9. Just 1 or 2 showers about. And Saturday at this stage looks mostly dry with a top of 14, a cold start to the day down to 6 degrees, but then the rain developing again on Sunday with another strong cold front becoming windy as well. And with that cold front Sunday into Monday, the showers continuing, a top of 13 for Monday, but some useful snowfalls for the resorts as well. So Saturday's looking like the driest day in the outlook.
Any chance of dry on Monday as well when the kids all go back to school?
No, still looking quite wet on Monday. With that change going through on Sunday, we'll see the showers persisting into the early part of next week.
I don't think I'm ever going to be able to mow the lawn. You need at least a couple of dry days before you can hack it with a lawnmower, especially when it's up to your waist. Yeah. All right, thank you very much, Michael. Michael Efron from the Bureau. Now, Jill Mansfield is still with us, but we have just ahead of calls on 96900 693. Of course, we always at this time play the Passing Parade.
This is John Doremus with the Passing Parade and the story of Macbeth. No, not Shakespeare's Macbeth, the real one. A grossly maligned figure who now finds his place in the Passing Parade. He was born Macbeth MacFinlay, Earl of Ross. Over the centuries, he has been immortalized by writers, in particular by William Shakespeare, as plain Macbeth, the Scottish nobleman who, urged on by his wicked wife, murdered King Duncan of Scotland and seized the throne. Not in the legions of horrid hell can come a devil more damned in evils to top Macbeth. Such was Shakespeare's description of him as spoken by his archenemy Macduff. and so will he be remembered. I would venture to say, however, that if the two were alive today, Shakespeare and Macbeth, the latter would sue the bard for every cent he had. I'll be back to set the record straight after this message. The gory legend of Macbeth would seem to stem from the fact that he allied himself with the Danes against the English. This, of course, was back in the 11th century when Scotland had barely won itself a place on the map. To get even, English historians painted him as the evil genius of Scottish history. And by the time Shakespeare got around to having a crack at him toward the end of the 16th century, it was open slather. And the Bard of Avon was no mean hand when it came to adding fuel to the fire. His villains were villains to the truest sense. No messing around, they were the bloodiest, the most foul fiends ever to stalk through the pages of literature. His treatment of Macbeth was a classic example. He painted the Scot as a sacrilegious usurper, attuned to the powers of darkness, influenced by witches' prophecies and the evil ambitions of his bloodthirsty wife. But ascertained historical facts paint a vastly different picture. In the first place, Macbeth's claim to the throne of Scotland was every bit as legitimate, if not more so, than King Duncan's. And in the second place, Duncan was not murdered by Macbeth while asleep in bed. He was slain in battle. And in the third, by all accounts, Duncan was a proper 7-letter word. The real Macbeth, according to unbiased chroniclers, was a relatively just and equitable king who ruled Scotland for 17 years in the semi-barbaric 11th century with the active support of his people. Prior to occupying the throne, he had served as the commander-in-chief of Duncan's army. The two fell out when Duncan involved himself in a succession of wars with Macbeth's Scandinavian cousin Thorfinn, the Earl of Orkney. With Thorfinn's aid, Macbeth raised an army of his own and subsequently defeated Duncan in battle. Duncan was killed in the fighting, and Macbeth became king in his place. 17 years later, he in turn was dethroned by Duncan's son Malcolm. So the circle, or triangle if you wish, was complete. But no story of Macbeth would be complete without a word about his so-called fiendish spouse, Lady Macbeth. She may have been a thoroughly nasty piece of work. Quite probably she was. But to label her as Shakespeare did seems a trifle harsh. For instance, in the scene where a messenger has just announced that King Duncan is coming to spend the night under her roof, she gives vent to the following sentiments. Come, you spirits that tend on mortal thoughts, unsex me here, and fill me with the crown to the toe-top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood. Stop up the access and passage to remorse, that no compunction visiting of nature shape my fell purpose. Pretty strong stuff, I think you'll agree. But as I said, when it came to dishing it out, Will was no slob. It would be interesting, though, if he and Macbeth were alive today. Yes, indeed. I have a hunch the fur would fly. Our time is up till we meet again for another chapter in the Passing Parade. This is John Doremus. Thank you so much, and goodbye for now.
What a huge show. Peter Hitchener, John Doremus, Simon Owens, and now Jill Mansfield. Jill, thanks for staying on. You're such a good sport.
Thank you, Pete.
Would you like to drive home? I'll give you the car keys because I think you're a bit nervous with me behind the wheel in the rain.
You just drive a lot slower than I do.
I do. I stay in the left-hand lane. I never get out of first gear. Hey, Steve at Greenvale, I'd like to say hello to you.
G'day, Jill. Look, I feel for you, Jill. You probably have to be forced to watch Phil consume 2 cheeseburgers and some fries on the way home. But seriously, it's a privilege to talk to you and talk to the other half of the successful partnership, and it takes two, and now we finally heard and met the woman behind the man, and I'd just like to say it was an honour and a privilege to know your husband. He's the thing with Bruce is he treated everyone the same. He didn't discriminate. He made everyone feel welcome, and even when he had his detractors, he didn't let it get to him. It didn't show. He just saw the good in people and forgave them quickly, and that's what I loved about him. And he was there for a lot of people, including, the sick and the vulnerable and the lonely, obviously. But I'd just like to say, first of all, to for all the years that I've been ringing him, and not as long as many others, he brought a lot of joy to me, made me laugh, and he was like a father to me. And I just want you to know how close many people like me felt just talking to him every night, if not every second night or third night. And even all those people who don't call, I'm sure they feel the same way. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I'd like to finish up by saying that there was a little funny segment that Bruce used to do and Simon started called What Bores Bruce? And that's my favourite segment, as you probably guessed that I love talking about space or ghosts or something that Bruce finds totally boring. And he used to moan and sigh in the background. So I'm going to do it tonight quickly. In Herald Sun, page 13, if you've got a copy there, guys.
Phil's got it there.
Could I imagine that might be about the Jupiter probe?
Yes. A probe is finally entering Jupiter's orbit. Now, at this point, Jill, Bruce would be sighing in the background, wanting to take a break or something. But it was so funny, and I just loved the way he did that to certain people. You know, he sort of had idiosyncrasies with different callers, and it just made us laugh. And I'd just like to finish up by saying thank you very much for sharing your husband with the rest of us.
Well, he counted it a great privilege to be still working at his age, and he said it was such a joy. It was his hobby, it was his whole life, and he adored it.
Steve, well said. Take a $50 pancake parlour voucher. Open 24 hours at High Point or Doncaster, Malvern East. Take a friend and enjoy delicious pancake on us. It'll be lovely, Steve.
Well, look, I'll say no because I'd like to give it to someone who really needs it.
Well, no, I can't do that once I've given it away. You are free to give it to someone of your choosing.
All right, then. Thank you.
Okay, that's the way it works.
Thank you. Good night, Jill.
Good night.
Good on you, Steve. After the break, we need to get an update on the grandkids because, of course, we haven't heard what they've been up to for quite some time now. So we'll find out more from Jill Mansfield on the grandkids very shortly.
Yes.
Yeah, that was something like that, yes. We have an email, Jill, we have an email from Jeannie of Point Lonsdale who says, listening to Jill tonight, she sounds lovely. So sad about Bruce. I've moved to the coast now but have fond memories of Bruce around Eaglemont and coffee tucked away in the corner at Paul's coffee shop in East Ivanhoe. When walking my pups at Chelsworth Park, it was a delight seeing the Pied Piper with his darling little grandchildren struggling behind. We never actually spoke, but he was part of my life. Quite a character, methinks, sadly missed. So thank you, Jeannie. And speaking of the grandkids, how many were there? I never actually counted. 8. And how are they all?
They're wonderful, really. Sam's just turned 16. And will soon be studying to get his licence, so we're making sure we've all got our insurances on our cars.
Yes.
He won't be driving mine. The youngest two, Ella and Sophia, are currently away on holiday, and Will today went to a magic show at, I think, Northcote Town Hall.
Yeah. Oh, yes, Bruce always said one of the grandkids loved their magic.
Yes.
There we are.
So he went to that today with the after-school care program.
Beautiful. Bruce was fond of the magic tricks as well, wasn't he?
Oh, yes, he had a whole lot of them tucked away in his cupboard.
And always played Santa to their grandchildren?
Oh, yes, with the ripped
I think
costume.
they'll wake up to him, won't they? They knew.
I'm sure Emily was, with the ripped pants and the pillow hanging out.
Oh, how funny.
And the trousers hanging down underneath it because it was too short. But
Hey, Norma at Bry Hill, she'd like to say hello to Mrs. Bruce Mansfield.
Hello to you all there. And Jill, that was just lovely of you to come into the studio to talk to us all. Phil is such a gentleman to pick you up and bring you in. And I met you on the bus to Creswick. And I sat with Bronnie. And it was such a fun day. You might remember me, Norma. And there was, at Eaglemont, there was a fair one Saturday morning, and Bruce was conducting it and all. I met all your grandchildren. So, look, we all miss Bruce, but look, good luck on your cruise, and look, we've just got to get on with it, don't we?
You absolutely do. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jill, all the best.
Good on you, Norma. Thank you. Chris in Greensboro. G'day, Chris.
Oh, hello there. It's Chris calling on behalf of Robin of Box Hill.
Oh, lovely.
Yes, she was thrilled by Bruce's doodle. We wanted to thank Philip.
Oh, yes.
Yes, and how's she doing? She's been hospitalised, hasn't she?
She hasn't been hospital. It got postponed, but tomorrow she's going to work at ONJ and she has to be up at 5:30 because they've got early meetings at the Olivia Newton-John Centre.
Yeah, we wish her well, of course.
Yes. So, and that was that doodle with Andrew McLaren, frightened of the wasp getting into his Dr. Pepper.
Yes, but more importantly, do you realise it was Chris, along with Robin, they co-wrote that lovely song about Bruce, and you have a copy of it, Jill?
Thank you.
Yes, that was a rough draft. That was actually sent over when Bruce was still here with us in person, and we sent a rough draft of that. So you've only got the rough draft. We've since polished it up since then. We must send you a copy of the polished one.
Yeah, nice to have a song written about you, isn't it?
Very special.
Okay, now, our love to Robin, please, Chris.
Yes, I'll make sure she knows.
Good on you, Chris, from Chris in Greensboro to Chris in Brody. Hello, Chris.
Hello, fellas. Hello, Jill. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
In many respects to you and your extended family, there was a variety of things that not just one thing we could touch on with Bruce. It was just a natural. And I still, sort of haven't even attempted to reinvent myself into another generation of what we do from this point onwards after I am approaching 25 years of regular interaction in 3AW programs and trying to reinvent myself. I've lost, but on air. But I do sort of, while I'm coping with my illnesses and being a single man and being on my own a lot of the time, and I do get really emotional. And at night time, when those ending pieces with Bruce, all of a sudden that stuff that might be building up in my head immediately goes down into my heart, and I start to really be grounded and really think, could have there just been another time, another call to Bruce to say more than I've probably done on just, on a level of talk and radio talk,
Oh, no, have no regrets. What's past is past, and Bruce always enjoyed your conversations, Chris.
And keep listening, Chris. It's a great station.
And I can't believe the way the time is flying.
Yes, it's nearly half past already. Now, after the break, I want to ask, for many years, and of course, Phil, you in particular being here for 25 years with Bruce, I've been with you for 20. We've heard every story Bruce has ever told a million times, as we have yours. I want to find out about, did Bruce and Jill really get married on top of an Ampol service station? I want to hear that story after the break.
Let's come to the half stop.
With you shortly. Lois, Karen, Chris, Robert, Vivian. And before you tell Simon the honeymoon story, is it true that you and Bruce met in the Barossa Valley and that, like Lucille Ball, you were treading grapes in a big wine vat at the time with your feet? Is that the way you met originally?
Truly, we did meet in the Barossa Valley. I was not treading the grapes at that stage, but I just happened to see him walking past a hedge, and I just looked at him and I thought, I don't know who he is, but I'm going to marry him one day.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And what was he doing there? Was he visiting his own family?
No, we were with a whole group of friends.
Oh, okay. And how did you initially meet then? Did you trip him up or what?
No, I think I was introduced to him, but I had actually known some of his family in Sydney as well.
Oh, really?
Mm.
And Simon wanted to follow up on that.
Just before we do so, but there was no recognition. You hadn't seen him in Melbourne Tonight.
I'd never even heard of him.
Is that right?
How refreshing!
Yeah, that would have offended him, I would have thought. So, fast forwarding to the marriage, then Bruce tells the story that revolves around an Ampol service station and being upstairs
in Manly.
Yeah, is that correct?
It is perfectly correct, but we actually sent him an invitation to our wedding so he'd remember to come. But we were married in a place in Sydney called Burwood. And because his father was going overseas and he had to hurry up and get this marriage over, before he decided to go overseas in November, we only got engaged in the August. It was a case of, in Sydney, you book 5 years ahead. And we were fortunate, or unfortunate enough, to find a little reception place on top of an Ampol service station in Concord West. And it was their first ever reception. The drinks didn't come out. We were all dying of thirst, but that part was definitely true.
And how many of your friends were there and family?
About 100.
Really? They came all the way to Concord?
Yeah, well, see, I was from Sydney,
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't have a parking problem. You just park in the service station underneath.
That's right.
Now we remember fondly. We often used to play the Johnny Cash song "Ring of Fire" because legend has it that on the honeymoon night, Bruce developed a nervous rash, and as a result of that, the honeymoon was never ever, shall we say, consummated.
Phil.
I don't think we'll go there, Phil.
No.
Well, Bruce did many times.
Yes, but it's one thing to make light and have a laugh at his own medical condition at the time.
How
but
often did we
to
play...
turn that into a probing... You're not Mike Willisey or anyone, doing a hard issue.
How often did we play Ring of Fire because of that story?
Yes, we did, and it was fun, but it's just not appropriate.
Oh, well, tell me...
Well, I would say the name's Jilly, not Silly.
Okay, well, tell me in the car on the way home, please.
Lois is in Frankston. Hello, Lois.
Hello, boys.
Yes, Lois.
And hello, Jill.
Hello, Lois.
And how are you going, my friend?
I'm going quite well, thank you.
I got Bruce in the lounge room. I got Bruce in the bedroom. I got Bruce in the spare room.
Pictures everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I miss him so much, Jill.
We all do, Lois.
I miss him. I ring the boys, but it doesn't feel the same. I'm sorry, boys.
No, that's all right.
I love you both, but you know.
Bruce had a spark, didn't he, Lois?
Yeah, he had that spark for me, and he said, because I'm very sick, Jill.
Sorry to hear that, Lois.
D. And he used to say to me, remember, one foot in front of the other.
That's right.
Yeah, one day at a time. Yeah. Yes. All right, Lois, nice sentiments.
Yeah.
And of course, thanks so much, Lois. We're aware of one of our nightliners who actually she's had Bruce tattooed onto her arm.
That's well. Don't be shy, Phil. You as well.
No, I'm not aware that I'm there too. I think it's just Bruce.
No, Kyra has a tattoo of Bruce and Phil.
Oh, well, I thought it was just Bruce, but isn't that rather nice? Would you consider a tattoo, Jill?
No, I don't think so.
No. Phil's interview style is quite unique. Karen's in Sunshine. Hello, Karen.
Hi, Phil and Bruce. Phil and Simon. Yeah. Bruce and Elaine. And hello, Jill. Nice to speak to you. Yes, it was always nice talking to Bruce, and he was always so funny and very caring, and I loved the little impersonation he did of you, Jill. That was funny. And also the end of the show, how he would, the segment you play at the end of the show, I loved that. And so I really miss Bruce. And but I'm sure he's gone to heaven. So yeah, but it's lovely speaking to you, Jill.
Thank you very much.
Good on you, Karen. Thank you. We need to take another break already. It's 24.
Here's another Chris, this time Chris of Hastings. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Phil, Simon. Hello, Jill.
Hi, Chris.
I just wanted to say we miss Bruce, especially his antics with Philip. Very good duo, and we'll miss him greatly, and do. And, you know, Phil, it's no longer groovy to like the blues, you know, that's all, there's no blues anymore, like, even Bing Crosby sang the blues.
Yeah, the birth of the blues, yes.
Yeah, and I was just thinking that now I feel old, like this new Taylor Swift music, and Jill, do you have a favourite sort of music or song or something you might share with us?
I love country and western.
Oh, yeah, like Kenny Everett or Johnny Cash?
Johnny Cash.
Everybody loves Johnny Cash. I'm on the bandwagon, Jill.
Good.
Chris, I think you might have meant Kenny Rogers. Kenny Everett was a comedian.
Yeah, Kenny Rogers, that's right.
There
Ruby.
Yes.
I don't mind Willie Nelson either.
Oh, you don't like him?
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah,
oh, yeah, he's still around, you know.
He certainly is. Good on you, Chris. Did Bruce ever talk after work or during the day? Did he ever talk about the callers and tell you what was on the show the previous night?
Yes, he did. He was very moved by a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he did appreciate all the callers, and that's what kept him going. Just loved to hear from everybody.
It's one of those things. Bruce and I often talked about the fact that he was quite shy. Being on radio gave him the confidence to perform and do the show, but one-on-one he was quite shy when he was forced to speak to people.
He was very funny. He didn't like just social chit-chat, and he said I was much better at that than him. And when he'd get stuck with someone, he would just say, "Have you met my wife?" and just very quietly sidle off, because he really was a very shy person.
Okay, well, bearing that in mind, how did he get on these cruises where you'd have 80 people you had to entertain? Did he sort of shy away from that?
No, he thoroughly enjoyed them because they were all doing the same thing, so he was able to share what he'd done with them that day. But the wife was pulled in quite a few times.
Oh, yes, as chaperone.
I would expect that he would, if the crowd were together, he would almost treat it like a show.
Yes, he did.
And entertain them all. Here we are doing this, doing that, having fun. But then if it came down to a one-on-one conversation, after the show was over, if someone came up and said, "Oh, how's it going, Bruce?" that's when he would get nervous.
You're correct.
Yeah.
It's very hard to fault Bruce in any way, but his camera work left a lot to be desired on the cruises, where he'd share the video with me, and half the time you were looking at his feet pounding the pavement.
No, I made the DVDs of those cruises, and I always edited out the feet shots.
Yeah, I saw it before it was edited.
There was usually one in each cruise where he'd put the camera on and pointed at his feet. And
you just forget that it was on.
Yes, you get the sound of the shuffling as he's walking along and the shots of the footpath.
Hey, Jill, here's a favourite of ours, Kyra at Seaford.
Hello, Simon and Phil. Hello, Jill.
Hi, Kyra.
How are you? My condolences, Jill, to you and your children and your your grandchildren.
Thank you.
Bruce was a very lovely person to me, and Phil and Simon, all of them actually. They were there, Jill, when I was in hospital, Peter McCullum, and Bruce, we used to talk and make me happy and made me cry, and yes, Jill, I've got the Phil, Simon and Bruce tattooed on my arm. And,
I'm on there too, am I?
Yeah, Nightline,
Beautiful.
Bruce was a very loving person, Jill,
Yes, I do know that.
Ups and downs, and you're beating me by one grandchildren, Jill. I've got 7.
You've got some catching up to do, Kyra.
Yeah, I have to ask my kids that, Simon, and it's pretty. When I heard that Bruce had gone, Jill, it's very hard, He was loved by everybody, Matter of fact, I'm looking at the photo of Phil and Bruce, and with the different ties and that, I got photos of them.
Yes.
Did Bruce have a lot of different coloured ties too, like Phil?
We never passed a tie shop. He used to love them. Wherever we were in the world, he would have to go in and buy at least one tie.
Yeah, I've got a photo here with him and Phil with a red one, then another coloured one, and he's so funny. He was a good, loving person.
There must be thousands of Bruce and Phil photos around Melbourne, because every year we'd send out about 400 Christmas cards over 25 years, plus all the fan cards and all the prizes. So, Bruce is in a lot of homes and in a lot of hearts. Kyra, because of the grandchildren, we want to give you compliments of Misha at Shock Entertainment, the Archie and Sabrina collection. These are a couple of DVDs, Archie's Funhouse. You're going to love it. Hours and hours and hours of your cartoon favourites for your grandchildren.
So hang on there, Kyra, and Bianca will get your details. Vivian's in Mill Park. Hello, Vivian.
Oh, hello, Jill. It's a pleasure listening to you this evening. And
hi, Vivian.
Hello, Philip.
Yes,
and
Vivian.
Simon.
Hello.
Jill, for years I procrastinated to go on the cruises. I'd say, I remember ringing one year and I said to Bruce, I don't like flying. I'm thinking about a cruise. And he'd say, well, go into travel life and, maybe come on the next one, and I think this year was the one that I would have probably have had enough gumption to go when he's not here. It's funny the way things work out, isn't it?
Yes, but they are a wonderful company, and that's why I feel quite happy to be going on my own, because you're looked after the whole time and you see some wonderful, wonderful places. And I was frightened of going on a ship, but now I love it.
Yes, you're used to it. Also, Jill, did you listen to Nightline each night?
Mostly I did.
That's a cheeky question.
Mostly I did. I was usually busy up until about 10, and then I used to listen from then till midnight.
Yes, that's
Hey,
fair enough.
Vivian, lovely to hear from you. I want you to accept a pancake parlour voucher. Pancake Parlour open 24 hours, High Point, Doncaster, Melbourne East. Simply lovely, and enjoy your prize.
Thank you very much.
And again,
Thank you.
for those who weren't tuned in at 10 o'clock, including you, Vivian, thank you for our amazing ratings that went through the roof, and we are very thrilled by them, very humbled by them, and we are delighted that you all voted for us.
Good on you, Vivian. Hang on there, Bianca will get your details. I have to ask you, I wasn't aware that you did listen. Were there ever nights where Bruce got home and you'd be there tapping your foot, arms crossed, ready to have a crack at him for saying something that he shouldn't have said? Or in all the years of broadcasting, surely there'd be a time where you thought, oh, Bruce.
No, to be honest, as soon as he'd finish off, I'd just listen for the car, which used to come in about 12, the very latest 25 to 1, and as soon as I heard it pull in, I'd go to sleep.
Oh.
I knew everything was fine then.
Hey, time for one more call. Mightn't get to you tonight, Robert and Simon. Sorry about that, but it's you, Kerry Ann at San Remo.
Yeah, me. I'm on a catamaran in Western Port Bay, nearly Phillip Island.
Oh, half your luck.
Oh, yeah. Jill,
Yes.
Bruce is your husband.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, he is a beauty. I've listened, I'm like a young girl, and Phil, Simon, Bruce, Jill, Bruce, he was, as I listened, I reckon Bruce was a difficult character, but phenomenal. So what I can ask you, Jill, oh, golly.
Yeah, what's your
question?
Yeah.
Well, I just think, Jill, because I've only rung up tonight because I'm on the Western Port Bay, and I appreciate marriage. And Jill, how long were you married to Bruce?
For 46 years, 46 and a half years.
Yay. How many children did you have together?
3.
Oh, yay. So I wish you well, and I feel, as I've listened to you, Phil and Bruce, over the years, I would have married Bruce too.
I got there first.
That's a lovely call to finish on. Thank you, Kerry Ann. We'll break. We'll come back and chat with John Deeks shortly and find out what's coming up on his show and wind up a beautiful night with Jill Mansfield.
Our young son came up to his mother in the kitchen one evening while she was fixing the supper, and he handed her a piece of paper that he'd been writing on. After wiping her hands on her apron, she read it, and this is what it said. For mowing the lawns, $5. For making my own bed this week, $1. For going to the store, 50 cents. And playing with little brother while you went shopping, 25 cents. Taking out the trash, $1. Getting a good report card, $5. For raking the yard, $2. Total owed, $14.75. Well, as Mum looked at him standing there expectantly, I could see the memories flashing through her mind. She picked up the pen, and after turning the paper over, this is what she wrote. For 9 months, I carried you, growing inside of me, no charge. For the nights I've sat up with you, doctored you and prayed for you, no charge. For the time when the tears that you had caused through the years, there is no charge. And when you add it all up, the cost of my love is no charge. For the nights full of dread and all the worries ahead, no charge. For advice and knowledge and the cost of your college, no charge. For toys, food and clothes, and even for wiping your nose, there's no charge, son. And when you add it all up, the cost of my love is no charge. Well, when he finished reading, he had great big tears in his eyes, and he looked at her standing there and said, "Mum, I sure do love you." And then he took his pen and in big letters wrote, "Paid in full." The Lord knows when you add it all up, that of real love is no charge.
Copyright restricts distribution of this piece by any means of duplication.
Jill, I must say what a thrill it's been to have you in the studio tonight. And you've been so brave, so courageous and so thoughtful to spend the night with us.
Thanks for having me.
Jill, it's this time, this part of the song that Bruce used to say goodnight to the grandkids. Would you like to do the honours? Sorry.
Yes, I will. Good night, Samuel, Carter, Amelia, Emily, Charlotte, little William Oliver, sweet Ella Grace and Sophia Grace. Lots of love from Nana.
Yeah, bless you, Jill. And I talked to Peter Hitchener, and there's every chance if Simon takes a night off, that you might come in and partner me for the show. And again, it will be Mansfield and Brady.
As long as I get top billing.
Well, no, maybe not.
And a larger paycheck than you.
Okay, you can sit in my chair for a change. Thank you, Rwanda, for being a part of a show we will long remember. And Jill, know that we hold you very dearly in our heart, and that not a day goes by without Bruce being in our thoughts and in our prayers.
Thank you all, and thank you 3AW.
At 2 minutes to midnight, John Deeks bursts into the studio, quite excited about the morning ahead.
What a magnificent voice you have on radio, ma'am. You are sensational. Coming up, Jim Sherlock and a lot more. Who was the first Tarzan?
Well, I'm thinking before Johnny Weissmuller and before Lex Barker, I think it might have been Buster Crabbe, who was an Olympic swimmer.
Congratulations, you've won the car.
And that was back in the era of silent movies.
That's right. A lot more to come to Australia overnight in your
Phil
call.
cast him in that role.
I was Jane. Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, you've got another minute. Have a chat to us.
Oh, really? Okay, thank you very much. Also, we've got a wrap-up of the State of Origin. Louis Armstrong. We're celebrating the passing of Louis Armstrong a little bit later on. Rick Milne will be along with collectibles, treasures, all those bits and pieces around your house.
And I don't know if you will talk to Jim Sherlock about the fact that TV's Lois Lane has just passed away.
Oh, really?
Noel Neal, who was with George Reeves.
What was her name, sorry, Phil?
Noel Neal.
Yes, just checking.
In the TV series Superman. And she's just passed on at the age of 95. And on Sunday night, Kevin Trask will replay an interview with her.
Oh, fantastic. I'll make sure I listen to that, as you will be listening to my show throughout the morning.
Aren't you glad you came in so Phil can tell you what's coming up on our show on Sunday?
No, look, we're all one big happy family. We are.
Say good night, John.
Good night, John.